Continuing from the previous episode 422. Chapter 1351. Ancient Devouring Insect. Yu Qingyang smiled after seeing everyone nod their heads. He glanced at the energy storm in the distance and said, "Since there are no objections, let us all begin. This is my suggestion, so we shall be the first to act. Everyone will take turns later on. Of course, do not blame me for speaking bluntly. If anyone wishes to be lazy or have any ill thoughts, do not blame me for being rude." His eyes swept over everyone when he spoke. They finally paused on Han Ya and Han Li, but his smiling face seemed indifferent. General Qingyang can rest assured. Everyone is now in the same boat. Whoever intends to sink this boat will not be let off by the others. A man with a lightning symbol on his forehead opened his mouth to speak. He was a member of the Lei clan, one of the 8 ancient clans. "Ha ha, thank you very much." Yu Qingyang laughed. After which, he turned his head to Yu Zhen and the 2 others. "Let's act first. Xiaoyan and Xuan, you will be the last." Xiaoyan slightly nodded when he saw Yu Qingyang shift his eyes to him at the end. He understood that Yu Qingyang had placed them last to monitor Han Ya's group. "All right, let's begin," that silver-robed man laughed. After which, he slowly walked to the light curtain with the other 3. Do-chi whistled out of their bodies like floodwater, transforming into numerous unusually large do-chi pillars that ruthlessly smashed into the solidified light. Bang! The offensive strength of the 4 of them joining hands was unusually frightening. Even though that light curtain was extremely hard, it cracked under this attack. Finally, a crack sounded, and a 10-foot large hole, about 3 to 4 meters tall, appeared. Bang bang bang! Everyone sighed in relief when they saw that the attack was effective. Immediately, Yu Qingyang and the 3 others erupted again. Their hands were wrapped in their bright do-chi and appeared just like sharp blades as they were ruthlessly inserted into the crystal wall. Solid energy fragments continued to shoot out. The 4 of them were undoubtedly just like drilling machines at this moment. Majestic do-chi surged and the hole that they created became deeper. This kind of tunnel opening continued for 10 minutes or so. Yu Qingyang and the 3 others finally halted after perspiration covered their foreheads. They turned their heads and took a look. They had already dug a 10-foot-long tunnel. Everyone had swarmed in behind them and were curiously studying the surrounding energy crystal layer. This light curtain was over 1,000 feet wide. Hence, it would require over an hour to pass through it even with the group continuously opening the tunnel. This undertaking would not be finished even after an entire week if there were only 1 or 2 people. "General Qingyang, allow us to continue." The 2 men from the Lei clan behind laughed when they saw Yu Qingyang's group coming to a stop. They naturally understood that Yu Qingyang's group could still continue. However, they were clearly planning to preserve some strength. It was impossible for them to allow themselves to become completely exhausted. After all, the relationship between the 8 ancient clans was not as friendly as one imagined. Caution would definitely form when next to one another. "Ha ha, in that case, we'll trouble brother Lei Luo." Yu Qingyang laughed. After which, the 4 of them pulled back. The 2 members from the Lei clan strode forward. Bright lightning glows gathered on their fists. Finally, they emitted a low cry as they ruthlessly smashed forward. Rumbling sounds once again appeared in the tunnel. The energy storm is getting closer. While everyone were advancing with the opening of the tunnel, Xiaoyan, who was at the back, turned his head and looked at the entrance of the tunnel. The energy pressure that was transmitted from the outside was becoming stronger. One could vaguely hear the whistling wind that had been created by the energy storm. It is likely not possible to barge into the energy storm. Xuan smiled and comforted when she saw Xiaoyan's eyes. Has the entrance to the 3rd level always been solidified? Xiaoyan smiled and nodded. His hand suddenly rubbed the solid energy crystal beside him. This brilliant thing had been agglomerated from an extremely frightening energy. Moreover, it was compressed to an unimaginable level. Only then did it form such a vast energy curtain. It is rumored that the light curtain of this place had already solidified even when our 8 clans first came here. Even after a countless number of years, the solid energy here still does not show any signs of melting. Xuan nodded gently and replied. Xiaoyan clicked his tongue and sighed. This heavenly tomb was indeed mysterious. The tunnel became longer while Xiaoyan and Xuan were chatting, but the 2-man team from the Lei clan was unable to compete with Yu Qingyang's 4-man group. Hence, they had opened less than a 50-foot distance when they were replaced. Fortunately, there were still many people behind. One group after another took turns to step forward, allowing the energy tunnel to grow deeper. Bang! After this tunnel creation continued for another 10 minutes or so, an earth-shaking sound suddenly reverberated behind them. Everyone sensed the light curtain violently shake at this moment. The energy storm has swept over. This kind of activity caused the tunnel to immediately become quiet. Everyone's expressions were somewhat solemn. Such a large energy curtain was shaken by the energy storm. If they had still been outside at this moment, they would have immediately turned to dust. Everyone, let's speed up. Gu Qingyang knit his brows before opening his mouth to insensitivize everyone. Although they had avoided the energy storm, it was still overly pressuring. The surrounding brilliant energy crystals might be beautiful, but they gave one an uncomfortable feeling. Everyone nodded slightly upon hearing his voice. Huo Zan's group was opening the tunnel at the front, and they increased their attacking speed. With the flow of them, Xiaoyan and Xuan had also opened up the tunnel twice. Breaking the crystal layer was not as difficult as Xiaoyan had imagined. The crystal layers might be extremely hard, but it was not some unchewable bone to Xiaoyan, who possessed a couple of heavenly flames. Han Ya and Han Li had also performed some hard labor while monitored by Xiaoyan's group. However, it was obvious that they were loafing on the job. Nevertheless, there was no time to make a fuss at this moment. No matter how unpleasing Xiaoyan's group found them to be, everything had to wait until they exited the energy tunnel. During this period of time, Xiaoyan's eyes paid attention to the two from the Yao clan. The ones from the Yao clan who had entered the heavenly tomb were the man with some mysterious lines on his clothes and the sexily clad lady. From the aura of the both of them, they should be at the 7th star of the Do Zun class. Their fighting strength appeared to be inferior to Han Ya's group on the surface. The gazes that these two people occasionally gave Xiaoyan were quite unfriendly, but Xiaoyan was too lazy to pay too much attention to them. The geniuses from the ancient clans always contained a faint superiority in their hearts. When facing an ordinary human, such a superior feeling would appear especially strong. Kai. The rumbling sound continued to appear within the tunnel. Xiaoyan shut his eyes slightly, but he had just shut his eyes when an unusual sound was suddenly transmitted into his ear, causing him to open his eyes once again. He looked at the crystal wall to his left before touching it with his hand. He had ended up discovering a layer of faint energy liquid seeping from it. This is... Xiaoyan was startled. His eyes swept over the crystal walls on both sides, and his body paused there for a moment. After which, he flicked his finger in front of Xuan uncertain eyes. Two energy pillars extended from the tip of his finger. They finally connected to the crystal walls beside them. Xiaoyan's unusual actions had attracted the notice of the others. All of them looked at him in surprise. Even the two who were opening the tunnel at the front had halted. Their faces were at a loss. Xiaoyan? Gu Qingyang frowned slightly and cried out. However, Xiaoyan acted as though he did not hear Gu Qingyang's cry. He slowly lifted his head and looked at everyone. The blood on his face had greatly diminished as he replied in a dry voice, "The crystal wall is closing." The tunnel immediately became dead quiet when Xiaoyan's voice sounded. Gu Qingyang's expression had become much uglier at this moment. He created two energy pillars just like Xiaoyan. After sensing carefully, he did indeed feel a slight pressure being transmitted from the energy pillar. Bastard! What kind of a damn place is this? Everyone felt their head become numb when they saw Gu Qingyang's expression. Someone even involuntarily cursed. Gu Zhen's face was grave. He quickly walked to the side of the crystal wall and touched it with his hand. He immediately yelled in a deep voice, "There is something in the crystal wall." Bang! Gu Zhen's words had just sounded when he ruthlessly smashed the crystal wall. A crack line formed at that spot, and a dense snow-white thing wiggled within it. A liquid-like substance seeped out before covering the surface of the crystal body. It quickly solidified and formed a layer of extremely thin substance energy. These things are secreting energy to repair the crystal wall. Xiaoyan inhaled a gentle breath of cool air when he saw the worm. A chill surged within his heart as he slowly turned around. His eyes swept around him. This energy light curtain that stood between the sky and earth had, by these small snow-white insects? From the size of these small insects, if they wished to create such a large light curtain, their numbers, just how frightening were they? They had barged into an incomparably overbearing insect nest. While Xiaoyan's heart felt a chill, Jiyu Qingyang and the rest had focused on the snow-white small insects. After which, their faces slowly turned pale white. Ancient devouring insect. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Continuing from the previous episode 423. Chapter 1352, Collecting Remuneration, Ancient Devouring Insects? Xiaoyan was startled when he heard the mutterings of Jiyu Qingyang's group. This is a small magical beast that lived during ancient times. Their bodies are extremely tiny, but they are endless in number. The ancient devouring insects, as their name suggests, are able to devour everything. After which, they secrete pure energy. Originally, this kind of thing should have gone extinct. It is unexpected that we have found them here. Xuan softly explained. This light curtain should have been created by these ancient devouring insects. Unexpectedly, we have barged into their nest. If they awaken, not even dregs would remain of us. Jiyu Qingyang's expression was a little grave as he spoke. Finding these ancient devouring insects had completely exceeded his expectation. It is likely not just this light curtain. It might be possible that quite a bit of energy within this heavenly tomb has been created by them. Jiyu Zhen lowered his body, touched the ground, and slowly wondered aloud. Jiyu Qingyang, are you planning on getting all of us killed here? Han Ya laughed in a dense and cold manner. By bringing all of you into this place, I have, at the very least, allowed you to live until now. If we did not enter, all of you would have already died in the energy storm. Jiyu Qingyang glanced indifferently at Han Ya. After which, his eyes swept over everyone as he said in a deep voice, "Now is not the time to talk about this. The crystal walls on the two sides are slowly closing up. We must open the tunnel as soon as possible. Otherwise," everyone nodded upon hearing his words. It was a little late to say anything now. There was a raging energy storm outside the tunnel. They would die if they pulled back and left. Remaining here would also lead to death. The only way to survive was to open a tunnel through. Everyone should cease preserving your strength from now on. Of course, I will not stop you if you wish to die. Jiyu Qingyang spoke in a deep voice. He immediately waved his hand. Let's begin. Everyone nodded upon hearing his command. They quickly stepped forward, and the dou qi within their bodies surged out without holding back. In an instant, a loud rumbling sound appeared within the tunnel in an intense manner. Bang bang! Amid the wild and violent explosions of this group of people, the speed at which the crystal wall was being opened suddenly increased. Crystals shot out and thick layers landed on the ground. While everyone was doing their best to open the tunnel, the crystal walls on both sides slowly began to wiggle. In the end, one could see the crystal walls on both sides slowly closing with one's naked eye. There's an increasing number of ancient devouring insects gathering. Jiyu Zhen's expression was solemn. There was an endless amount of liquid energy seeping out of the crystal walls. After which, this energy liquid rapidly solidified. If this continued, this tunnel would close before they could completely break through the crystal wall. It won't do to continue like this. Seeing this, Xiaoyan slowly shook his head and commented in a deep voice. There is no choice. We can only do this regardless of how ineffective it is. We will die if we stay. All we can do is go all out. Jiyu Qingyang knit his brows. He also felt a headache. It was unexpected that they would be so unlucky to meet such a troublesome thing in this place. Xiaoyan also frowned. He cautiously looked at both walls. It was vaguely possible to see densely packed insect figures behind the crystal wall. Their numbers really caused one's skin to feel numb. We must hinder the rate at which the crystal wall closes up. Jiyu Qingyang shook his head when he heard this. It's useless. Any attack is swallowed by these ancient devouring insect. Randomly attacking will only cause the energy that they secrete to increase. He waved his sleeve after uttering those words. A powerful dou qi violently struck the crystal wall on both sides. All of them watched the dou qi disappear when it came into contact with the crystal wall. Wave after wave of energy liquid began to rapidly flow from the spot where the dou qi landed. A frightened expression finally surged into Xiaoyan's eyes when he witnessed this scene. These insects might be inconspicuous, but it was unexpected that they possessed such a mysterious strength after gathering together. These ancient devouring insects are hiding behind the crystal wall. Attacking them will not be effective. Those insects will also gather in front of us. A chill suddenly rose within Xiao Yan's heart when he thought of this. Wouldn't that mean they would be sealed to death in this place if that was the case? Ji Qingyang was slightly startled when he saw Xiao Yan's face suddenly change. He seemed to recall something. His eyes swiftly turned to the crystal wall where he vaguely saw some tiny figures swiftly gathering. Bang! A fist that contained a powerful wind struck the crystal wall in front of them. This time around, the expected scattering of crystals did not appear. Only a half-a-foot wide dent appeared where the fist landed. Moreover, this dent had just appeared when waves of liquid energy seeped out and quickly repaired it. Those ancient devouring insects have run to the front. Everyone's expression became ugly when they saw this unexpected change. A panic even surged into the eyes of some people. This was really a blind alley. Bang bang! Some people refused to be misled. They once again unleashed two violent attacks. However, they did not manage to cause much of an impact. What should we do now? Everyone faced each other before their eyes gathered on Ji Qingyang. However, he was also frowning at this moment. Their hearts involuntarily sank. Ji Qingyang. What a good tactic. Han Ya's originally pale expression had become even paler as he spoke in a dark and sinister voice. I will give it a try. Xiao Yan knit his brows as he took 2 steps forward. It is useless. Ji Qingyang sighed. The ancient devouring insects' devouring ability was too frightening. Even with their strength, they were unable to resolve the desperate situation in front of them. Xiao Yan did not show any reaction to his sigh. He clenched his hand, but he did not release Do Qi. Instead, a cluster of purple-brown heavenly flames with a dense white color was summoned. The temperature within the tunnel rose with the appearance of this cluster of heavenly flames. Go! Xiao Yan flicked his finger. The heavenly flame in his hand rapidly flew forward. It gently drifted and touched the crystal wall. Creak, creak. A creaming sound was suddenly emitted from the energy wall when the two made contact. Everyone was stunned to see a 2-foot deep hole appeared where the flame landed. The remnant heat annihilated a countless number of ancient devouring insects. Looks like this is not a hopeless situation. These ancient devouring insects are unable to devour heavenly flames. Xiao Yan sighed in relief and laughed to everyone after seeing the effect that the heavenly flame obtained. Everyone quietly sighed in relief at this moment as well. Fortunately, they were able to find hope once again. Xiao Yan, quickly open the tunnel. A joy flashed across Han Ya's eyes as he hurriedly urged. Xiao Yan ignored Han Ya. His eyes landed on the red-clothed lady from the Han clan and the man from the Yao clan. He said, You two, I can be in charge of opening the tunnel. However, I hope that the both of you will use your heavenly flames to deal with the sides and slow down the rate at which the crystal wall closes up. This job should not be difficult for the two of you. The lady from the Yan clan is called Huo Ji. She possesses the Red Lotus Yi flame, which is ranked 8th on the heavenly flame ranking. That man from the Yao clan is called Yao Xing Ji. He is called human medicine in the Yao clan. His alchemist level is quite extraordinary. Xuan who was beside Xiao Yan, introduced them in a voice that only he could hear. Red Lotus Yi Flame? Xiao Yan's heart thumped slightly upon hearing this. He had never seen a heavenly flame of this rank. Huo Zhu nodded without hesitation after hearing Xiao Yan's words while Yao Xingji frowned. Nevertheless, he could only nod his head when he thought about their current situation. Additionally, Xiao Yan smiled when he saw the two of them nodding. He slowly continued. Everyone should be aware just what kind of enormous undertaking it is to open this crystal wall. Using the heavenly flame is also very exhausting. I, alone, will not be able to endure through it all. Hence, other than Huo Ya and Yao Xingji, I will require the energy cores in everyone else's hands. Everyone was startled when they heard this. Ji Qingyang's group did not comment much as they nodded. The members from the remaining few clans did not object after hesitating for a moment. They were aware that what Xiao Yan said was true. They still felt tired even after joining hands. Even less needed to be said now that the job would be completed by Xiao Yan alone. Brother Xiao Yan might be straightforward, but his words are reasonable. These are the energy cores that we have gathered during this period of time. The two individuals from the Lei clan mused for a moment before tossing a cloth bag toward Xiao Yan. The cloth bag contained extremely dense energy. From its weight, there was likely more than 100 energy cores. Seeing the duo from the Lei clan take the lead, The remaining people also began to take out the bags that stored their energy cores one after another. They then tossed them to Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan smiled as took all the bags. After which, his eyes landed on Han Ya's duo at the back. He spoke in a faint voice, "What about you two? Xiao Yan, you have already taken so many energy cores. Isn't it enough?" Han Ya demanded in a deep voice. His face had turned cold after seeing that he had failed to escape. "Regardless of whether it is enough, I still wish to get a reward from you." Xiao Yan answered with a smile. It was a whimsical thought if they were thinking of getting him to work for them without any remuneration. Xuanura involuntarily smiled when she saw this from the side. It seemed that Xiao Yan had decided to ruthlessly grab everything from these two fellows. "Of course, I will not force you if you are not willing. However, please turn around and walk back." Han Ya and Han Li's faces turned green when they saw Xiao Yan show a "please leave" gesture. However, they would definitely be at a disadvantage fighting here given that Xiao Yan's group was large in number. Hence, the two of them exchanged glances and could only clench their teeth. They took out a bag with great dissatisfaction and violently tossed it at Xiao Yan. "Take it. Quickly get to work." The smile on Xiao Yan's face involuntarily became denser when he heard the furious voices of these two individuals. "If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible." Duh. Continuing from the previous episode 424. Chapter 1353. Opening the crystal wall. The smile on Xiao Yan's face was slowly withdrawn after storing the many energy cores into his storage ring. His eyes were grave as he looked at the crystal wall in front of him. At this moment, one could see some wiggling insect figures embedded in the crystal wall. Wave after wave of liquid energy continued to seep out of the wall. After which, it solidified and adhered to the crystal wall. "You two, I shall leave the sides to the both of you." Xiao Yan turned his head and spoke to Huo Ji and Yao Xingji. Huo Ji nodded when she heard his words. On the other hand, Yao Xingji merely glanced at Xiao Yan. Although he did not say anything, it was obvious that he was a little displeased in his heart that Xiao Yan was issuing orders. "Kai!" Yao Xingji withdrew his eyes. He moved his hands and a cluster of pale black flames surfaced above his palm. A strange wind sound vaguely whistled when the flame materialized. One would feel an unusual irritation when this wind sound was transmitted into one's ears. It was as though this kind of unusual sound could stir one's emotions. This is. All the eyes present slide over when they saw the pale black heavenly flame in Yao Xingji's hands. Their eyes were a little surprised. Something like a heavenly flame was far too rare. Even though they were members of the ancient clans, they could not simply see them just because they wanted to. 9 Serene Wind Flame, ranked 10th on the Heavenly Flame ranking. The corner of Yao Xingji's mouth was involuntarily lifted when he saw everyone's surprised eyes. He smiled faintly and introduced the flame. 9 Serene Wind Flame. Xiao Yan's eyes also paused on this black flame. Being an alchemist, he had naturally heard of this thing. All heavenly flames formed in an extremely bizarre. An example was the 3000 burning flame, which was formed within the empty realm. This 9 Serene Wind Flame, on the other hand, was born from an endlessly deep abyss. Dark wind never ceased blowing all year round in that place. Even an ordinary elite Dozun would not dare to venture into it. This so-called 9 Serene Wind Flame was formed with the intense wind. One would not only require luck to obtain this 9 Serene Wind Flame. There was still a need to possess an extremely powerful strength. Based on Xiao Yan's guess, the price that the Yao clan had to pay to obtain this heavenly flame was not small. Puff! A slight noise suddenly appeared when everyone's eyes had gathered on the 9 Serene Wind Flame on Yao Xingji's hand. A deep red color slowly glowed within the crystal tunnel. Many eyes looked in the direction of the light, only to see a cluster of deep red bewitching flames slowly rising on a hand. The flame had formed numerous red lotus shapes. Following the appearance of this deep red flame, the 9 Serene Wind Flame on Yao Xingji's hand became a little dimmer. Even the whistling wind had been greatly diminished. Yao Xingji's face involuntarily twitched when he saw his own heavenly flame acting like this. Although he felt a little displeased, he could do nothing about it. The Red Lotus Yi Flame was ranked 2 places higher than his 9 Serene Wind Flame. There was naturally a gap between the two of them. Tisk tisk. I think that this should be the Yan clan's Red Lotus Yi Flame, right? Ji Qingyang looked at the heavenly flame in Huoji's hand. He could not help but smile and ask a clarifying question. Huoya tilted her head, but her pretty eyes shifted to Xiaoyan. Her eyes contained a strange feeling. Xiaoyan involuntarily smiled when he saw Huoji's provoking eyes. This lady usually kept very quiet. However, it was unexpected that she would appear this wild when it came to something related to the heavenly flames. After exhaling gently, Xiaoyan gently clenched his hand. Threads of different colored flames seeped from his finger. They gathered together and turned into a cluster of purple-brown flames with a strand of a dense whiteness in it. The flame churned and numerous dragonfire seedlings continued to rise from within the flame. There was a vague dragon roar being emitted. Roar! The red lotuses above the red lotus yi flame on Huoji's hand began to fluctuate when the heavenly flame in Xiaoyan's hand appeared. It felt as though it had become illusory. On the other side, the 9 serene wind flame on Yao Xingji's hand, which had already become somewhat dim after being suppressed by the red lotus yi flame, had become even dimmer. Even the whistling wind being emitted from it had completely disappeared. Although your heavenly flame's ranking is not ranked among the top, your heavenly flame is comparable to that of the top 6 heavenly flames after your merger. However, you are likely the first since ancient times to perform the crazy act of merging heavenly flames. Huoya's pretty eyes revealed a fluctuation within them. A low and enchanting voice was emitted from under her veil. Xiaoyan was noncommittal toward these words. Merging heavenly flames might appear crazy, but it was not impossible. These words spoken as if he was the first to merge heavenly flames were likely untrue. At the very least, the owner who created the mysterious Qi method called the Flame Mantra had merged heavenly flames. Alright, we are pressed for time. Let's act now. Xiaoyan did not have time to discuss the matter of merging heavenly flames with Huoji. After seeing that the other two had summoned their heavenly flames, Xiaoyan took a couple of steps forward and stopped in front of the crystal wall. He spoke in a deep voice, "Everyone should follow close. Do not get left behind." The heavenly flame in Xiaoyan's hand suddenly soared when his voice appeared. It began to fiercely burn as a deafening dragon roared. A purple-brown dragon rushed out of the flame. It ruthlessly collided with the thick crystal wall. Sharp dragon claws danced as the crystal wall burst apart, forming a large hole. "Follow me." The tail of the fire dragon was connected to Xiaoyan's hand. He sternly cried out and violently stomped his foot on the ground. His body swiftly charged forward. Ji Qingyang and the rest followed close behind him. What great flame control ability! Surprise flashed across Huoji's pretty eyes when she saw Xiaoyan transform the flame into a fire dragon which began to open the crystal walls. She swiftly followed, and the deep red flame in her hand swept out at the same time and covered the crystal wall to the left. Its frighteningly high temperature quickly slowed the speed of the closing crystal wall. Yao Xingji on the other side had also begun to work. Although he was a little displeased that Xiaoyan was in command, the most important thing now was his life. He could be at odds with everyone, but he could not be at odds with his own life. Hence, he had also put in all his effort when he acted. The fire dragon whistled and rushed forward within the crystal wall. The frightening temperature had completely incinerated the ancient devouring insects hidden in the wall from some distance away. Despite this being the case, the ancient devouring insects continued to surge over like moths attracted to a flame. The enormous energy that seeped out also posed quite a great obstruction to Xiaoyan. Bang bang bang! Explosions continued to be heard within the crystal wall. The advancement speed of Xiaoyan's group had become much faster. This kind of exhaustion is really too frightening. While his body was swiftly advancing, Xiaoyan also sensed the dou qi within his body seeping out like floodwater. His eyes had become much more solemn as he clenched his hand. A bag appeared in it. However, he did not take anything out. Instead, he grabbed the bag, circulated his qi method and swiftly absorbed the energy within the energy cores. After which, he poured it into the body of the fire dragon in front, which was doing its best to open the crystal wall. How much further is it? The expressions of Ji Qingyang and the rest behind had become grave when they saw Xiaoyan devouring energy cores like a whale devouring plankton. The crystal wall was extremely hard, and the ancient devouring insects were blocking him. Even though Xiaoyan possessed a heavenly flame, it was still not as easy as he had imagined. It will take another half an hour or so before we will break through the light curtain. That silver-robed man mused. Jiyu Qingyang slightly nodded. All he could do was hope that Xiao Yan could endure. Ferocious explosions occurred along the way. The rumbling sound did not cease, and the atmosphere of the tunnel was quite tense. Their hearts would involuntarily pound each time they saw Xiao Yan absorb the energy cores one bag at a time. This kind of exhaustion was really too frightening. Bang! The fire dragon whistled and heavily collided with the crystal wall. Crystals shot in all directions as Xiao Yan's feet slowed. He spoke in a deep voice, "There is no more energy cores." The faces of quite a number of people twitched when they heard his words. Jiyu Qingyang mused for a moment and swiftly took out a bright energy core. He handed it to Xiao Yan. "This is a 9-star energy core." "I only have one. It's not enough." Xiao Yan received it without any hesitation, but he still shook his head. 10% of the dou qi within his body was exhausted every meter they advanced. A 9-star energy core might be powerful, but it was still not enough to support them through the light curtain. "I also have one here." Huo Zan hesitated for a moment before taking out another 9-star energy core. "Give me another 3 of them." Xiao Yan exhaled and called on everyone. Everyone became quiet when they heard his words. After all, a 9-star energy core was a precious thing. "Oh, if we end up dying here, possessing many energy cores will be pointless." That man from the Lei clan sighed. He flicked his finger and an energy core shot into Xiao Yan's hand. "In that case, I will trouble brother Xiao Yan." The 2 large men from the Shi clan faced each other before swiftly handing an energy core to Xiao Yan. Everyone's eyes involuntarily landed upon the Hunya duo at the back after the Shi clan handed over their energy core. Hunya's eyelids twitched when he saw their gazes. At this moment, he also understood that his words were useless. All he could do was clench his teeth, take out an energy core, and toss it to Xiao Yan. In order to obtain this 9-star energy core, Hun Li and him had put in a lot of effort for a prolonged period of time. It was unexpected that they would now have to hand it to a person that they did not see eye to eye with. Xiao Yan held the 5 9-star energy cores in his hand and slowly sighed. A punch was thrown out. The fire glow on the fire dragon in front of him suddenly soared. It transformed into a fire figure that instantly penetrated through layer after layer of wall like a thunderbolt. Xiao Yan's group swiftly followed it from behind. This kind of all-out forward charge continued for nearly half an hour. The fire glow in the fire dragon finally began to gradually dim. "We are about to exit." Xiao Yan gave a low cry as he observed the dimming fire dragon. He lifted his head and looked at the emerald-like crystal wall in front of him. Densely packed ancient devouring insects had covered their trail. Only by charging forward would they be able to truly enter the 3rd level of the heavenly tomb. "Huh? This is..." Xiao Yan's eyes drifted just as the fire dragon was about to violently collide with the emerald wall. They focused on something in the middle of that crystal wall. There was a fist-sized creature emitting a pale red light at that spot. Looking from a distance, it appeared just like an insect cocoon. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Continuing from the previous episode 425. Chapter 1354. 3rd level. Xiao Yan's eyes swept over the thing that appeared like an insect before swiftly withdrawing them. The current him did not have much time to waste. The crystal wall here seems to be exceptionally hard. Even its color is even denser than what we have seen before. Xiao Yan's eyes revealed an expression of deep thought. He immediately inhaled a deep breath of air. After taking a step forward, his body merged with the fire dragon. He swung his right fist and a hot whistle buzzed within the tunnel in an ear-piercing manner. Bang! Xiao Yan's right fist swiftly merged with the fire dragon. After which, it was suddenly thrown forward and ruthlessly smashed into the emerald wall. A low and deep explosion suddenly resounded as intense rippling forces began to swiftly spread from Xiao Yan's fist, causing the tunnel to shake. Crack! A tiny crack line began to explode in the crystal wall in front of everyone's anxious eyes. This crack line began to rapidly spread. Finally, it emitted a bang in front of everyone's joyous eyes and exploded. Xiao Yan's hand suddenly grabbed at the crystal chips flying in all directions when the crystal wall burst apart. A warm jade-like thing landed in his hand. At this moment, Xiao Yan did not pay too much attention to it. He put it into his storage ring. "Let's go!" Xiao Yan's feet stomped on the ground after shattering the last crystal wall. His body took the lead to rush forward. Behind him, Jiyu Qingyang and the rest, who had already prepared, followed close behind as they charged towards the enormous hole that Xiao Yan had created. Xiao Yan was extremely quick. Within the blink of an eye, he had already charged out of the tunnel. After which, an endless gray land appeared in his sight. This land was extremely vast. One could not see a boundary at a glance. There was also not a dense energy fog lingering over the ground. When Xiao Yan's group stood here, they were able to sense wave after wave of pure energy seeping into their bodies from under their feet. This kind of discovery caused everyone to feel stunned. A joy that could not be hidden quickly surged onto their faces. The third level of the heavenly tomb was indeed far from what the previous two levels could compare with. With this kind of energy pouring in, it was likely that they would be able to obtain a good training effect even if they did not go and search for energy cores. Is this the third level of the heavenly tomb? The group had a joyous face as they looked around them. The feeling of having been reborn after a disaster caused everyone's heart to sigh in relief. Buzz buzz. While everyone was sighing in relief, the enormous light curtain behind, which seemed to be connected to the horizon, suddenly emitted an intense buzzing sound. This scene caused Xiao Yan's group to feel shocked. Their bodies began to rapidly pull back. Buzz buzz. While Xiao Yan's group was pulling back, wave after wave of a snow-white torrent rushed over to them with lightning-like speed. The wave was accompanied by a loud buzzing sound. Ancient devouring insects. They have come chasing after us. The expressions of Jiyu Qingyang and the rest immediately changed when they saw this wave. Their bodies began to hurriedly withdraw. Buzz buzz. The white torrent surged out in all directions. However, the flying bodies of ancient devouring insects came to a sudden halt soon after they had charged out of the energy wall. A puff could be heard as they turned into a cluster of white powder that scattered in front of everyone's stunned eyes. Puff puff puff. After 1 minute, a continuous stream of ancient devouring insects began to charge out of the tunnel without being afraid of death. However, they were repelled by a mysterious strength when they charged 10 feet away from the light curtain. Suddenly, they burst into white powder. In the end, the powder accumulated in front of the energy wall until it was a couple of meters high. These ancient devouring insects, what are they doing? Everyone was stunned as they watched these ancient devouring insects continuously charge out despite clearly knowing that only death waited for them. All of them began to frown. Could it be that they do not wish for us to escape? A person bitterly laughed and gave a suggestion. They would not go all out if their intention was to not allow us to escape. They are committing suicide, and it is a pointless suicide. Jiyu Qingyang shook his head and spoke with knit brows. A thought passed through Xiao Yan's heart while everyone was pondering what was happening with some doubt. His finger rubbed his storage ring without anyone noticing. Could it be related to the thing that he had grabbed from the crystal wall? Buzz buzz. The ancient devouring insect's suicidal charge continued for nearly 10 minutes. The white powder covered the energy wall in a thick layer. However, it was fortunate that this kind of suicide did not continue on. After a countless number of ancient devouring insects had been turned to dust, the charging speed finally slowed before completely disappearing. Clearly, this useless suicide had finally caused them to give up. Let's go. Jiyu Qingyang shook his head and spoke after seeing these ancient devouring insects shrink back into the crystal wall. Xiao Yan also recovered when he heard his words. Suddenly, he turned his head and swept it around. Then he began to frown because he had discovered that Han Ya's group had already fled while everyone was stunned by the wild suicide of the ancient devouring insects earlier. Those two fellows are really cunning. Xu and had also discovered that the two people had disappeared. She bunched up her brows and commented, "Ha ha, brother Xiao Yan, it is all thanks to you this time around. Since we have reached the third level, the two of us shall not continue to stand here for long. We will find a place to train. After which, we will quietly wait for 3 years to be up." Huo Zan cupped his hands to Xiao Yan and spoke with a smile. Xiao Yan also grinned and nodded. He cupped his hands in return and said, "In that case, I wish brother Huo Zan a peaceful journey. Goodbye. See you when 3 years are up." Huo Zan laughed, after which, he led Huo Ji into the distance. After Hu Zan, the Shi clan and the Lei clan said their goodbyes and left. Yao Xingji merely glanced at Xiao Yan before flinging his sleeves and leading that bewitching lady from the Yao clan away without saying any polite words. Within a short couple of minutes, this place had become empty after many people left. Only Xiao Yan's group still remained. Shu and where are the both of you going? Ji Qing Yang looked at the two, mused for a moment, and finally asked about their plans. Is Big Brother Qing Yang still not aware of where we are going? Shu and faintly smiled and replied. Ji Qing Yang helplessly shook his head when he heard this. He looked at Xiao Yan and said, You really intend to visit Xiao Zhan's tomb? That place is in the deepest regions of the heavenly tomb. It is extremely easy to find 8 or 9 star energy bodies there. It is still fine if you meet 1 or 2 of them. If there are too many, it will be extremely dangerous. Moreover, there might even be Do Sheng class energy bodies in the deepest regions. You might really end up dying if you meet them. Xiao Yan nodded and said, I know. Ji Qing Yang felt somewhat helpless when he saw that Xiao Yan had no intention of giving up. He hesitated for a moment before turning his head to look at the silver-robed man, Ji Zhen, and that burly man. He inquired, What plans do all of you have? Are you going to randomly find a place and train for 3 years? Do you think that is possible? Before we entered the heavenly tomb, I was informed by Elder Tong Zan to protect Shu and I think that I am likely not the only one who has received such an instruction. Ji Zhen lifted his head and smiled as he replied, Me too. The silver-robed man shrugged his shoulder. After which, he looked at Xiao Yan and laughed, I have not been able to introduce myself. I am Ji Hua, the second general of the Black Submerged Army. In the past, I had been unaware of why Shu and had chosen you. Now that I look at it, I have perhaps obtained some answers. I have also received that order. The burly-looking man, who appeared a little simple and honest, laughed, Ji Xing, third commander of the Black Submerged Army. We have you to thank for back there. Xiao Yan smiled and cupped his hands together. Ji Qing Yang and the other 2 generals were not filled with enmity, especially after the events within the light curtain. They were clearly a little friendlier to him. Hence, Xiao Yan did not treat the 3 of them in a cold and indifferent manner. Looks like this is the case for everyone. Ji Qing Yang spread his hands and laughed, Since this is the case, let's travel together. With the few of us joining hands, nothing unexpected should happen as long as we do not meet any Do Sheng class energy bodies. Whether you will be able to enter Xiao Zhan's tomb will all depend on you. The experts from our Ji clan once reached that place. However, we do not have a way in. No matter what method we tried, we were unable to enter. Therefore, you should be mentally prepared. Perhaps your ancestor does not want anyone to enter and disturb him. Xiao Yan slightly grinned. He nodded and said, My instincts tell me that I will likely gain something there. Hopefully. Ji Qing Yang was unconcerned. He lifted his head and glanced over the grayish-brown land. After which, he exhaled and smiled as he said, In that case, we should get moving. I really wish to see just how frightening the 3rd level of the heavenly tomb is. Let's get moving. Xiao Yan also laughed. After which, he exchanged glances with Shu and Subsequently, their toes pressed on the ground and their figures turned into 2 rays of light that took the lead as they swiftly rushed to the 3rd level. Ji Qing Yang and the 3 others swiftly followed behind. 2 black figures slowly appeared a great distance from Xiao Yan's group. They were Han Ya and Han Li, who had fled long ago. Ji Qing Yang's group has joined Xiao Yan and Shu and Han Li turned his head, looked into the distance, and made a comment. Together, it's just as well. It will save us some trouble when the time comes. Han Ya indifferently nodded. A brutal expression flashed across his lowered eyes. Xiao Yan, the next time we meet, will be the time when we take your life. Just you wait. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible. Continuing from the previous episode 426. Chapter 1355. Bansheng energy body. A faint energy fog slowly drifted with the breeze above a desolate grayish-brown land. The hazy world caused one to feel an additional mysteriousness. It appeared that even the concept of time was lost to this quiet world. A couple of figures were seated around a bonfire at a certain spot within this land. The flame lit up the faces of the few of them. They were Xiao Yan and Shu and group. However, they appeared to be even closer at this moment than in the past. If I have guessed correctly, we should be reaching the deepest parts of the 3rd region. If we are still going to travel tomorrow, all of us should be a little more careful. The deepest parts of the 3rd level are the most dangerous place within the heavenly tomb. Ji Qing Yang lifted his head, glanced at the dim region around them, and spoke with a smile. We have not met anyone else during these 3 months. It looks like they have found spots to quietly train. Xu and softly commented. Xiao Yan slowly nodded. 3 months had passed since they had entered the 3rd level. During these 3 months, their group had been hurrying to the deepest parts of the heavenly tomb. However, due to some powerful energy bodies blocking them along the way, they were finding it difficult to travel. Fortunately, the few of them had successfully charged in after joining hands. Oh, this heavenly tomb is indeed not as simple as I had imagined. The last time, I had nearly lost my life. Ji Hua randomly tossed the tree branch beside him into the pile of fire and helplessly lamented. There was a scar on his face. It was left behind when their group had met with a group of energy bodies with an average strength of 8 stars. That battle was miserable to the point of exceeding everyone's expectations. Fortunately, no deaths had occurred despite them suffering some injuries. Further in will be even more troublesome than what we have met with before. Therefore, everyone should be mentally prepared. Ji Zhen grinned as he spoke. Allow me to continue the remaining journey. Xiao Yan hesitated for a moment before speaking. Even with the 6 of them joining hands, it was quite difficult for them to survive. If they were to enter the deepest regions, there was no telling just what kind of trouble they would end up meeting. After this period of living together with Ji Qing Yang's group, Xiao Yan had formed a good impression of them. He did not want an accident to occur to them because of him. You should tell Xu and these words. Ji Qing Yang smiled and replied. We have already come this far, so let's not say such disheartening words. As long as we are careful, there will likely not be any problems. Xuan'er's pretty eyes stared at Xiao Yan as she gently responded. Hopefully. Xiao Yan could only bitterly smile and nod his head when he heard her reply. After which, he lifted his eyes and looked into the grayish-dark distance. The far end was where his target was located. It appeared as though he could sense the blood within his body flowing at a much faster rate. A northwestern direction. There are traces of 4 energy bodies present there. 3 of them are around that of 8-star Do Zuns while 1 is at the 9th star. Xiao Yan's shut eyes were slowly opened while he was behind a large rock. After which, he softly uttered this information to the group beside him. They had formally entered the deepest parts of the heavenly tomb. The 6 of them had involuntarily become cautious despite their strength. They carefully picked their paths as they traveled. Even when they met energy bodies they could easily deal with, they would deliberate before attacking. After all, the energy bodies were too frightening. No one knew if they would end up attracting even more powerful energy bodies once a fight begun. At that time, the energy bodies would surround them. The price they would have to pay was no longer just some injuries. Ji Hua and Ji Zhen have already gone out to investigate. They should be returning soon. Ji Qing Yang nodded and replied. Kai. Ji Qing Yang's words had just sounded when 2 black figures adhered to the ground. They used the enormous stone and the shadows of some trees as cover before swiftly appearing beside Xiao Yan's group. They were Ji Hua and Ji Zhen, who had gone out to investigate. There are traces of activities by quite a number of energy bodies to the south and west, and we have also sensed some extremely powerful pressures. We cannot take these 2 routes. Ji Zhen and Ji Hua slowly sighed in relief before speaking. In that case, we can only head to the northwest. Xiao Yan frowned as he replied. The western direction also possesses an extremely powerful pressure. This pressure has surpassed that of an ordinary 9-star Do Zun. However, there is still a gap to the Do Sheng level. Xuan'er suddenly whispered at this moment. Xiao Yan's group became quiet after hearing her words, stronger than a 9-star Do Zun while weaker than an elite Do Sheng. It seemed, it should be at the Ban Sheng class. This was also an extremely troublesome existence. They were aware that the Ban Sheng energy bodies would possess many energy bodies guarding it. The Ban Sheng that they had met this time around only had 4 energy bodies around it. This was considered quite a small number. What should we do? None of the 3 directions are easy to charge through. However, the northwestern direction is a little easier. There are fewer energy bodies in that direction. It will not be easy to attract other energy bodies even if we end up fighting. If it is the other 2 areas, we will likely end up being surrounded once a battle erupts. Ji Hua surmised the situation. Xiao Yan revealed an expression contemplation. He exchanged glances with Ji Qing Yang, and his eyes shifted to the northwest. Their only option now was to take this route. Let's get moving. Try to be careful. Do not disturb the Bansheng class energy body. Although the Bansheng energy core is extremely alluring, we cannot lose our lives because of it. Jiyu Qingyang softly sighed. Xiao Yan also slowly nodded. After which, he exchanged looks with Xuan Er. His body moved, and he transformed into a blurry figure that carefully rushed to the deepest parts of the heavenly tomb. Jiyu Qingyang and the rest also followed behind. Their careful manner appeared to be a little comical. The group of them quietly walked for 1,000 feet within the energy fog before their footsteps slowly came to a halt. 4 energy bodies were seated on a large rock a short distance in front. The figure at the middle appeared to be exceptionally powerful. It was a 9-star energy body. Xiao Yan's eyes were narrowed as they swept over these 4 energy bodies. After which, he turned and looked at Jiyu Qingyang's group. They quietly made some hand gestures. After a couple of months of joining hands, the coordination between them had already become quite good. The group nodded when they saw Xiao Yan's hand gesture. Their bodies slowly separated. Attack! Xiao Yan suddenly waved his hand when he saw that everyone was awaiting orders. At the same time, his body suddenly rushed forward. Within a flash, he had appeared in front of an 8-star energy body. His fist, which contained a dense purple-brown flame, violently penetrated the energy body. It shattered the body into nothingness in an instant. Bang! When Xiao Yan's lightning-like attack struck the 8-star energy body, the remaining 2 figures also burst apart. These energy bodies might be at the 8-star level, but their actual strength was not at this level. Otherwise, they would not have been able to win. Roar! That 9-star energy body appeared to have sensed something when the 3 energy bodies were killed. It suddenly opened both of its eyes. However, a furious roar had just been emitted from its mouth when 4 figures surrounded him in a triangular A-B formation. A mighty Do Chi swiftly surged. After which, they turned into lightning that ruthlessly struck this 9-star energy body. Kai, faced with the combined attacks of Jiyu Qingyang's group, this 9-star energy body had just emitted a roar when a puff sound appeared, and it was transformed into nothing. A bright energy core dropped from it. Abed Xuan Er swiftly grabbed it. The group faced each other and smiled when they saw that their sneak attack had succeeded. After which, they swiftly suppressed their voices because of Xiao Yan's hand signal and then quickly rushed into the distance. The subsequent journey was smoother after they killed those 4 energy bodies. However, this smoothness did not continue for long. Xiao Yan's group's expressions had gradually become more solemn because they had began to sense a pressure slowly spreading from a short distance in front of them. Bansheng, the brows of Xiao Yan's group were knit when they sensed this kind of pressure. Their speed also gradually slowed. If they were unable to pass through this obstruction, they would need to cease mentioning Xiao Zhan's tomb. Everyone, be careful, Xiao Yan softly said. He once again walked some distance forward. His body was hidden in the shadows of a large rock. His eyes narrowed as he looked forward. The area where Xiao Yan's sight could reach was covered by an energy fog. This energy fog was not dense. A gust of wind blew over and caused the fog to scatter. Following the scattering of this energy fog, a 1,000-foot-tall stone mountain suddenly appeared in view. Xiao Yan's group's eyes locked on the top of the mountain when it appeared. That place possessed an enormous stone seat. A figure was quietly sat on it. A dark red scimitar had been placed in front of him, and a dense bloody scent radiated from the large scimitar. It appeared like the fog that had lingered over this mountain. What an overbearing aura! The expressions of Xiao Yan's group slowly became solemn when they sensed the overbearing aura that was spread him from those figures. Was this the energy body that had reached the Bansheng class? It was indeed powerful. While Xiao Yan's group wore solemn expressions, that figure on the enormous stone mountain suddenly got up, and a bloody scent suddenly surged. We have been discovered. There is no need to hide. Be careful. Xiao Yan gently exhaled when he saw the energy body stand. His heart was unafraid as a fiery heat surged within it. Fighting an elite Bansheng, this would be the first time in his life. A 4-figure triangle? B. Well, one corner might have 2 people. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know so we can fix it as soon as possible.